Well, friends, welcome to today's webinar. And today we have a very famous speaker, Dr. Anshu from Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Medical Sciences, Varda, and she'll be speaking on engaging online uh, learners. Dr. Siraj, our secretary of AHPE, will take over from here. Over to you, Siraj.
Good morning, Sanjay and others on this forum. Academy of Health Professions Educators India is happy to welcome you all to the fourth webinar in this series. If you remember, we started introducing you to the online platforms, and then we moved on to a specific platform. It's a Google Classroom, after which we did Zoom. And the third session, the session that was held before this one, focused on how to use various social media platforms, and in particularly as learning platforms in our curricula. The fourth one in this series is about student engagement in online learning. Most of you as educators will agree that student engagement is paramount for a high quality learning experience. The only problem with us is not everyone agrees on what is meant by student engagement or how to achieve it. We have seen in the past medical educators, or for that matter, health professions educators, are not on the same page when it comes to student engagement. One of the most accepted version is of student engagement is the amount, type, and intensity of investment students make in their educational experiences. So it's one of the most important aspects that we have when it comes to online learning. And to do that today and to discuss on some important aspects of student engagement online, I have my friend, Dr. Anshu, who is a professor of pathology at the Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Medical Sciences at Sevagram. She was awarded a FAMA Fellowship from Ludhiana in 2007 and then subsequently in 2009 from Philadelphia. With the International Fellowship in Medical Education that she received, she pursued her Master's in Health Professions Education from Maastricht, where she completed it with a distinction. And she has been a faculty in our regional institutes, and also her book, along with Dr. Tejinder Singh, on principles of assessment in medical education, is a very popular one. And I should also mention that prior to my appointment as secretary, Anshu was the secretary of the Academy of Health Professions Educators from 2017 to 2019. So it's a pleasure to have you here, Anshu, today. And on behalf of the Academy, I welcome Anshu and all the participants who have registered today. Over to you, Anshu.
Thank you, Siraj, and thank you, Sanjay. Am I audible clearly?
Yes.
Is my screen visible to you?
Yes.
Sanjay, there is a box here which says start broadcast. Do I just close that box? Okay. So
Push it downwards.
just a minute. Okay. So as Siraj just mentioned, we have had 3 webinars so far, one on Google Classroom, one on Zoom, and one on how to use social media such as Facebook and YouTube Live. Now, let me start with a disclaimer that this is not a technical session. This is an educational session. So today, what we are going to be discussing is how can we use technology to make our students learn better. So I believe that technology is merely a tool for pedagogy. What we are finding in this, in our situation, especially with this corona epidemic here, is that people are fascinated with using technology, and when they're fascinated with one tool, they drop the whole idea, the whole load of this technology on students, forgetting that the person who is receiving all this is the student. So my target here would be that keep the focus on the learner. So it has to be learner-centered education and not technology-centric. You might be fascinated by some tool, but unless it serves your purpose in the classroom, whether it's online or offline, so technology will not be helpful just because it is there. Don't use it. Use it because it helps you to further your purpose. So the learning objectives of this session will be basic to identify the basic principles of student engagement, which you need during online teaching, how to plan online sessions. Surprise, surprise, you do need to plan online sessions. It's not just about getting online, projecting your PowerPoint and starting off. There is a whole plan which is required, and how you can use some synchronous and asynchronous techniques of student engagement. So you all have heard this Buddhist fable of the 6 blind men and the elephant. So this story tells you here that there were the 6 blind men, and whatever was their viewpoint, like this gentleman, I'm just trying to get a pointer here. Like this gentleman here feels that the elephant is like a wall. This man here feels it's like a tree trunk. He felt like this is the fan, and this is like a snake, and this is like a rope. So here, every learner in this community has his own, constructs his own meaning of his learning, and they all tend to disagree. But if for a change we expected all of them to come together to work and share all their viewpoints, probably they would get the entire picture. So this principle is what we call slides are not moving. Sanjay, I'm not able to move the slides here.
Press escape once and it will start. Yes.
Yeah. So this is called the community of inquiry. So individuals have to collaboratively engage in purposeful critical discourse and reflection to construct personal meaning and to confirm mutual understanding. So you cannot expect learners simply to learn from the content. They will have to engage in constructing their own meaning and exploring their own knowledge if learning has to occur. Now, I'll bring to your attention this framework called the Community of Inquiry Framework, which is given by Randy Garrison, by Terry Anderson, and Walter Archer from the University of Alberta in Canada. They say that a good learning experience comes from 3 elements. The first of these elements is cognitive presence, where you mean how does the learner interact with the content. The second is the teaching presence, or how does the learner interact with the instructor. And the third is social presence, where we are talking about how do learners interact with each other, the student to student interactions. Unfortunately, what we do is we focus, most of us focus our attention on the content or the cognitive presence. Now, when you have the focus only on the cognitive presence and you forget the remaining two, the teaching presence and the social presence, you come in for a very poor kind of learning where the learner is not going to be satisfied with the content. Otherwise, there is all the learning material is available online. You don't need classrooms. Students can learn from on their own. But unless there is a teacher, a guide by the side, and unless there is the fun of having students, other peers to learn from, the fun of learning is usually missing. So we need to recreate that fun of learning which you do in the classroom to the online platform. And so social presence becomes important. And here the tasks of the teacher will include selecting the content, how to sift the wheat from the chaff, how to break down the material, the content into small bits which can easily be assimilated by the learner, how to set the educational climate here, how to make it free or helpful for students to ask questions and not feel embarrassed about it and not be ridiculed about it, and how they can construct their own meaning by sharing different perspectives. So the rules remain the same, whether it is the teaching in the classroom, which you can see on the left, or in the online classrooms. The rules remain the same. How you use them is that you don't forget any of those principles. So let's move to the first part, which is enhancing the cognitive presence in online sessions, which means how do you get the student to interact with the content? Now, like you say in a lecture can be interactive, it can be boring. So if you have an online video where you expect students simply to sit down and listen to your webinar, you won't even be sure if people have just switched on their computers and gone off to take a walk. So how do you ensure that students are interacting with the content? Now, before I go ahead, there are some important points to remember, which are equity, access, and fairness. Now, you need to be sure whether all your learners have access to whatever platform you're using. So you have to prepare students for the experience. So we just started doing online sessions regularly. We used to do it off and on, but because of this break in the classes here, we started doing it regularly. And we realized that students complained that most of us are accessing the material through our smartphones. And our data use is such that we can't go beyond 2 hours. So will you all teachers sit together and decide who's going to take a lecture each day, because we can't go beyond that. So there are things like that which you need to consider, which you need to be fair to everybody. And I was just talking to my niece who's in CBSE, and they have been suddenly given lots of reading material. And her complaint as a kid who's very fascinated by learning is that what teachers complete in 3 weeks in the classroom has been given to us to complete in 3 days. How am I able to, how am I going to do this? So consider things like the workload you're given, and it's just not you doing the work. Talk to teachers from related departments and find out whether they have also given work. So when think of the workload on the student. So you need to consider which platform you're using. Are all students comfortable with the synchronous platform, or do you need to have asynchronous? Yeah, I hope you're familiar with the word synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous is when teachers and students are together, learning together at the same time. Asynchronous is more learner paced, where the student can access the material and learn at their own time and own schedule. So we have all discussed different synchronous methods here. I won't go into all of these. There are methods where you can go online, whether it's a chat room, whether it is video, or you can talk to your students. Now, remember that there will be students who will not be able to come online despite all they say. And so what we do at our place is to provide them recordings of this. And this is a snapshot of all the lectures which went on last week for my batch. So I just showed them how pharmac and pathology are at the moment doing these lectures. So this is how you help out students and look at things from their perspective. Now, one thing I'd like to emphasize here is online learning does not simply mean online lectures, which what most people seem to think. There are 100 different ways in which you can have online learning happening. And some of these ways are you can send reading material and then use the online timing to initiate the discussion, clarify doubts, uh, reinforce concepts, or initiate discussions. You can assign a video to watch, and a lot of people feel the problem, say that I'm not very photogenic, I'm not comfortable on the video, and not everybody is good with speech, they're not good orators. So your videos might not be as effective as you are in the classroom. So if you look online, there will be videos which serve your purpose. So there is no problem in sharing a video which is already available on Khan Academy, on YouTube, or anywhere else, which serves your purpose. You can ask students to look at the video and then follow up with an assignment or an assessment to see if they've actually looked at it. I have experimented with 2 or 3 things where I have asked students to teach and I have just facilitated, and sometimes they do a much better job than me. So there have been times where we have asked them to conduct a quiz. So last week we did a quiz of just 15 questions where students prepared the quiz and they conducted the quiz. But it's not a very passive process, because here students are using the poll button to answer to the question, but that is followed by a discussion of why the other things are wrong, why the other options are wrong. So we have a very enriching discussion even if we use simple tools. You can ask students to go on a scavenger hunt, which is ask them to pick out good resources for a given topic and then justify why they chose the topic, which means they learn how to find a credible source of information. So that is one thing you can do. You can give students resources and ask them to collaborate online and to submit a project. There are ways of which you can give them cases, whether it's a video case or a paper case, and have discussions online. It's always fun to have a debate. You can get students to collaborate and create a wiki, which is a combined document together. You can get them to write reflections. So just listening to you passively on a video is not necessarily the best way. You want students to interact with the content. And remember Bloom's taxonomy of learning, knowledge. And we are not looking at only regurgitation of facts. We're looking at how students synthesize information. We're looking at how they construct their own meaning out of it. So go and experiment with a mix of methods which allows students to have to explore the content on their own and come to a higher understanding. Encourage them to go in for a deeper kind of learning. So this is a course which we are just trying to design. So what we do is chunking the information. Chunking is you're dividing the material into bite-sized pieces where students go one by one. Now, once you can give them material to read. Now, once they read, they have a self-assessment module. But having said all this, remember that you have to be there. Otherwise, if you're not necessary, students will learn from the internet. Most students learn best from their own teachers. So you need to have a discussion board or an email chat or an email thread going where you are there to answer questions and to encourage them to learn. And always try and go to a higher level. So don't stop with asking direct questions. You need to have the clinical scenarios there and then get them to think in a more logical fashion. So you can use cases like we have done here. So since you all are fascinated by online tools, I am still, despite my reservations on this, I'm giving you some tools. One tool you can use is called Google Slides. Now, it's quite similar to PowerPoint, where if you have a Gmail account, you can create your own Google Slides, but you download this app called add-on called Pear Deck. Now, Pear Deck is something through which on your slides you can bring in interactivity. You can introduce an MCQ there, and you can get live results. You can get feedbacks from whether students have understood, not understood. You can get Likert scales there. You can ask them to give text results. You can ask them to draw on a whiteboard. You can put up a map and ask them where exactly what is, and if the whole class can put up dots there. So this is one thing which is absolutely free. You can experiment with it if you have a Gmail account, Google Slides with a Pear Deck add-on. Now there are these two tools which are very interesting, which is Edpuzzle and Playposit, which are quite similar. What you can do is take any video. The video could be your own, or it could be from YouTube or from anywhere else. And what you do is you can transform this video by cutting and customizing it. It gives you facilities to break the video into parts. Like you see 5 minutes and then answer a quiz. So you know at the end of this this section, students should know this part. Sometimes the language of the video is tough. So you can talk in your own local language, Hindi, Marathi, whatever you want to do. And then you can put in your special comments that this is what you mean here, or go back and see this part. So this is a useful feature to transform the video or if you don't feel something is too complicated for that level, you can cut out the video. So these two apps here, they are free at the moment. At least the basic versions are free, and with Corona, most of the basic versions of most apps are free for teachers at the moment. You can add your own assignments by embedding the quiz questions and give them opportunities for reflection. So both of these are available online. So I'd like you to go to chat and tell me what are the different modes of content delivery that you have tried online on your own. I'm waiting for your responses on chat. Or if you want to raise your hand and talk about it.
I'm just sharing the response. Edpuzzle, QR code, Moodle, WebEx, Google Classroom, case scenario, Zoom with Google Classroom, PowerPoint, video PDF, Google Classroom, MS Teams, Swayam, Edpuzzle, Big Blue Button, using
Right.
PDF
So
and
people have
PPT.
been using a lot of things. Now, my advice to you would be, whatever you're using, keep exploring that particular thing in depth, because we have not explored everything. And the moment you hear something new, you jump towards that. So use one or two tools and explore them in depth. Read the user guides, and you'll probably know how to implement them better. So anybody wants to ask a question, Sanjay, or should I go ahead? Siraj?
Dr. Jamkar.
Yes, sir.
Upper President. Yes, sir.
Anshu, very good. I just lost some time because of connectivity, and then I caught you around 10:10. So everything is going on well. I'll just get the recordings and connect with you. I think it's very good.
Right. Yeah, thank you.
I just felt can you just explain about Google Slide and how the interconnectivity, or you are going to show a demo?
Which one, sir?
Google Slide, how can you
Google Slides, I'll just explain that again. If you have a Gmail account and you go to Google Docs, so you have Google Docs and you also have Google Slides there. So the slide making procedure is almost similar to PowerPoint. Anybody can get through that. You need to download. I haven't tried it myself, but I think you can. Yes, you can. You can. And what you need to do is to download a Pear Deck app, a Pear Deck add-on. That's also free. So when you have it on the right side of your screen, you will get templates for using MCQs or using a Likert scale or using different things, text or drawing a map or whatever. And this is inbuilt into your presentation. You won't be able to use it in the mode where you're actually making changes. But when you project your slides, the students can get the poll on screen, and when they give you feedback, you can see it online in real time. So it's a good way of getting real-time feedback and making your slides more interactive.
And so it is analytical as well.
Yes, analytical in the sense it's a good way to get feedback, I would say, if you want to know.
Yeah, we can answer. You can make it more interactive. Otherwise, we fail to understand online whether we don't know whether they are listening to you.
Yes.
Very good. Good.
Any more questions?
I'm lowering your hands. Anyone who has got any question which has not been answered already, they can raise. Okay, Dr. Supriya. Please unmute yourself.
Sanjay, how many are attending?
At present, 277.
Very good.
Dr. Surya. Okay, Dr. Bhavna Bhimte. There is a by the name First Professional.
Sanjay, how much the go to webinar cost?
Sir, $500 a month.
My God.
Anshu, go ahead. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Please go ahead.
I'll go ahead with this.
We'll
Yeah.
catch you.
So we move to the next part of this, of the community of inquiry framework, whereas how do you enhance teaching presence in online sessions? Now remember that your task as a teacher online remains same as in the classroom, which means when you design an online session, you have to plan the session, you have to frame your objectives, and you have to share these objectives with your learners of what they are going to do. You decide what content and how you're going to give it, how you're going to chunk the information, how you're going to break it into bits, and which medium suits you best. You have to be a good facilitator and be available for your students. Now remember, these guidelines have to be made clear in the beginning, that where students will be able to contact you, that you will not be there 24/7, that if you send me a WhatsApp message, I'll answer immediately. You can tell them that I'll get back to you in the next 24 hours. And especially with your threads, online threads that you have, if you just start a thread and you disappear, it creates a very bad impression. So what you need to do is be there for students, intervene wherever necessary, and the way you question makes a huge difference. Like in the classroom, if you're going to use a PowerPoint, you will be familiar with PowerPoint. Whichever tool you have to you decide to use, you have to be familiar with it. You have to practice till you're perfect. So again, I would suggest, don't jump from tool to tool. Use one particular tool or two tools, maybe a LMS, a learning management system, and a streaming platform, and then use only those two till students get familiar. If you're going to keep jumping from one to another, students are going to get confused. So maybe one batch you're using one thing till they get comfortable. The next batch, take a risk and try something new. So do both of this. Now I'm coming to this point called active learning separately, so I won't talk about it here. Um, and then you have to give feedback. So it's important that you sit there and give feedback. As in the classroom, you need to communicate and give and to communicate that your expectations from students are high. If you lower your expectations, their motivation levels will come down. And assessment of students is also going to be done, but that's going to be covered in the next webinar. So I will talk about it later. We'll leave it for later for Siraj to cover. Now, one important thing is to create the right climate for learning, which means the first time you meet online, you have to know your students. Now, it's difficult even in a classroom of 200 to know people, but online, the isolation gets worse because you're not able to see faces. So a good idea would be to have maybe a document where everybody's photograph is there, and that's shared with everybody in the department. So you can put a face to a name and ask them to put their pictures in the profile so you know who's there. It's important to have the ice breaking session where you build a rapport with your students, where you have informal chat with them as well. You can't be a frozen formal teacher online. You have to be create that warmth in the online sessions. And then there's something called modeling disclosure. Now, to create a safe environment, it must be safe to be wrong. And as I have experienced in the last 1 month, that I have been saying I don't know what the answer to this question is more times than usual, because surprisingly, students who never ask questions in your classroom, perhaps the anonymity of the online sessions makes it easier for them. They start asking questions, and suddenly the level of the questions is so great that you are confused of what to answer. So it's a good thing to say I don't know and let's find out together. And when you say we'll find out together, please get back with the responses and don't disappear. I've talked about this already. Provide contact details, whether it is whatever you're comfortable, whether you're comfortable with email or whether you're comfortable with WhatsApp or whatever. But where do students get in touch with you is something they have to know. The risk-free expression: don't ridicule your students on chat. If they're wrong, don't reprimand them, because once you do that, the next time nobody's going to come to your sessions or even ask any questions. And like always, set the ground rules. You will find this happening online very frequently, where people disturb the class. and don't get too bothered by it, but you know when to intervene and say, this is etiquette, this is what I will take in class, this was what I'll not, which is not appropriate. So you allow a little bit of banter, because that is how the social bonding is built up. Get used to emoticons emerging in your chat rooms, which will happen. But again, we have heard stories about how students have been indulging in completely inappropriate talk, where they say we're not talking to teacher, we're talking to each other. So these things you have to be careful about, and set the ground rules right at the start of when you want them to start, when do you want them to end. The pace and the vibe is important. You have to be friendly, you can't be too formal here, and go according to the speed that they understand. I find that if you are able to take certain content in a classroom for 1 hour, it usually extends to 1.5 hours online, because the number of questions which come in, the number of times they tell you to repeat is more. And in India, we tend to be a little hierarchical, and you're the boss in the classroom. Here, you need to come down to the level of the students here. Um, People tend to think that because it's online, you can be flexible. But here, as a teacher, you need to emphasize that, yes, I want your assignments back by 2 days. So 2 days means 2 days. So unless you emphasize the task that they have to come back here on time, you're going to lose control over the whole session. And then it doesn't work as well. So all these things create the right learning environment. Now, I would again say here, just because everybody is doing online videos, don't follow the herd and jump over to the cliff. Use what you are good at. There will be some teachers who are not good orators, and maybe their skills are good facilitation. Maybe you will be better off with simply an email chat, an email thread going with a WhatsApp chat going, and that will create for richer learning, perhaps, than a badly produced online video. So know your strengths as a teacher, that's important, and let your personality be revealed. So when students are not seeing you in the classroom, they have to see you online. So uh, you have to model what you expect students to do. So again, the same principles again, use a tool you're comfortable with, practice until you're perfect, and use a mix of method, but don't make a khichdi of it. So don't use too many things just because you have learned today so many different apps. So you have to be careful about what you're doing. I love this statement, which comes from Chickering and Gamson's article, which says, learning is not a spectator sport. So it's not like they're sitting on the video in a badminton match and watching the shuttlecock go from one end to the other. So they have to do something. Learners have to do something to feel completely involved. So, and this is the principle of active learning, where learners need to construct their own understanding. And it has been found that the more you engage with students, it improves student performance and increases their motivation and their enthusiasm for learning. So I would suggest that you can use your online time better rather than just going into online lectures. What you can do is give them reading material prior to the session. So which can mean simply reading pages 5 to 6 of from your textbook, read from page number this to page number this, or give them a PDF document or give them a video, some kind of a trigger, and then come back to the online session or the chat session and use this face-to-face, or maybe it's not exactly face-to-face, to clarify doubts, to build concepts, and to encourage higher order learning. Now, the questions that you ask make a huge difference to it. So if you're going to ask them questions which require them to regurgitate, they will have surface learning. But you ask them about mechanisms, you ask them about how something happens, why something happens, and then it makes a difference. Give them self-assessment modules, or maybe a list of questions which they do after it, and that this tests their own understanding. Tell them to present work or submit work which they have created, which is very satisfying for the learner, that my work is appreciated, it's being seen by other students as well. And the same rules which apply in the classroom, where you appreciate the learner, where you give them feedback, all these make a difference. So some more apps, because I find that apps are something which people like. The most commonly used app is a poll, which can be used in an MCQ format. Most of your software, whichever you're using, learning management software, systems have different polls. Or if you don't have one, there's this app called Poll Everywhere, which I think is a paid one, which can be integrated into wherever you are. Now, how do you use polls? Before you start a class, you can use a poll to have a baseline assessment of what is going on. So what you can do is know where they stand and then tailor your class accordingly. Between the sessions, takes breaks, like in a classroom. Every 20 minutes you would do something different. You can take a break and to see whether they have understood what you have studied. And sometimes it's very surprising that you've just taught something 5 minutes ago and then you find lots of people giving the wrong answer. So the moment people give wrong answers, it means they haven't understood, and you go back and reinforce those concepts again. And then of course after the session you can give them a sort of completion test where then these questions can be useful. The students of this generation like games. So there are two gamification apps which I think most of you are following. I think Kahoot is very popular in India, and Quizzes is a similar tool. Now both of these have options where you can create quiz. It's like your Kaun Banega Karodpati, where you are the quiz master. You create a quiz and you give that challenge to your students. Now it has the facility of a leaderboard where it can see who's got more marks, who's come first, who's come second. So that kind of challenge students love. So you can keep adding to the questions and the leaderboard score keeps changing. So Kahoot and Quizzes are things you can use. Socrative is another app which has all these facilities together where you can use it for polls, MCQs, true false questions, a lot of other things. And most of these are free at the moment. Answer Garden is where you ask a question and then you ask people to give a text response. Like just now I asked you which are the different apps you're using. So if all of you typed in the text, then this app usually puts out a word cloud where it shows which of the apps are most frequently used. So the most frequently ones will be bigger and then the rest will be smaller. So these are things you can do. So pick up your phones, and if you have a QR code reader, you can click this and I have for you a list of apps which you can save. So I'm just waiting for a minute. When you finish, let me know. You can click this, and if you don't have a QR code reader, you can take this. You can take a picture of this website, and I have uploaded a document there where all the apps which I've talked so far are available. Tell me when to start once you finish.
Yeah, that's done. Code is done. It's working.
Can I move ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So this is a book which I tried buying from Amazon, but Amazon is not shipping to here, but I bought it on Kindle. You don't need to buy the book actually. So most of the apps that I mentioned there were all, it's like a list of apps available, but you don't need to buy the book. There is this blog page called educationaltechnology.com by the same author, and she keeps updating. The book might be a little outdated, but she keeps adding to the different educational apps that you can use. So you can go and look at these apps if you're a tech freak. Otherwise, use just two things simple and that will still work. So this is a question again for all of you. And what are the ways of giving feedback that you have used so far online or you think can be used? Chinmay, can you read them out for me? I cannot see all of them.
Kahoot, SurveyMonkey, Google Form, Google Classroom, Socrative, Google Forms, WhatsApp.
I'm talking
Google
about how do teachers make their presence felt by giving feedback? This is taking, I'm not asking about students getting student feedback. I'm asking about how do you give feedback to your learners?
Google Feedback, email, face-to-face, Google Chat.
Yeah, Google Chat is one. What else?
Google Classroom, WhatsApp, Teams.
WhatsApp. So it's important that you try to address the needs of individual learners. It's not always possible, but in a discussion board or in a thread, on an email thread, you need to address what is correct and what is wrong. So feedback is something that you need to give all the time.
Then one is quicker.
Any other questions? What is it?
QUI. It is a Quikrn. QUIKLRN by Dr. Sapna.
Okay. If you can explain that, Sapna, if you can, because I haven't heard of it.
Dr. Sapna, can you raise your hands? Okay, I am unmuting you. Yes.
It's actually a learning platform that we are using in our institution, where all the students and teachers are integrated. And through that, we can send assignments. And once they send assignments, we can evaluate and give the feedback, and we can send them back through a notification. So it's a learning platform.
What is the name of name?
QuickLearn. It's called QuickLearn.
Quicker. Okay.
QuickLearn.
Spell it, please.
It's a learning platform. Just like you have to subscribe for it. Institution will have to subscribe for it for all the students and teachers, and then they'll be integrated into this platform.
Would you put it on chat so that Siraj can pronounce again?
Sure.
Right. Only yesterday I was seeing something on Twitter where a teacher put up an assignment which they have marked. So they have been correcting papers and put up the corrected paper, of course, anonymizing it and showing it to students that tell us what is wrong about this paper and how you can improve it. So sometimes you can use creative methods like that, like how am I correcting this and what should be the better way of answering this question. So you can always be as creative as you want. Any other questions at this point?
Actually, 2-3 query regarding QR code. Can you show QR code again?
The previous QR code?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And a few responses are using Facebook, WhatsApp, and Twitter chat.
But how did you create this QR code? How did you create this QR code?
This is okay. I'll just go through it. This is something you can use also to take your attendance. So what you do is you go to the-QR code-generator.com. Okay, you can write it down. It's the-QR code-generator.com or any other QR code place. Now you need a URL and you put your URL there and you get this QR code. You can copy the QR code here. So you can use it for different things. If you want to take attendance in a classroom, what you can do is create a Google form, a simple Google form, which has only 2 features, roll number and name. So when you make a Google form, you have a send option. When you go to the send option, you have something called URL. Copy the URL. So copy the URL from there, shorten the URL, and go to this QR code generating site. Okay. Now you can copy this QR code and put it in your slide. In the middle of a lecture or the end of a lecture, you can show this to your students, ask them to click the QR code, and they can enter their roll number and their name. So at the end of it, you have an Excel sheet which has the time of entry, the roll number, and the name of the students. You can arrange it according to the roll number because it's an Excel sheet later on. And this works as your attendance. The good thing about it is that next time you collect data, you collect it at a different destination. So a different sheet in the Excel sheet is formed. So if you look, if you want, I'll send you the video showing how to do it from YouTube, and you can collect this information. So you can use this to share your PDF documents, your Word documents, or anything you want using this QR code. Okay. Any other questions?
No, so far.
Nothing. No raised hands, Sanjay.
No raised hand. Anybody would like to raise your hands? Anything else which has not been discussed?
Let's go ahead and then we'll take the questions. Let's go ahead.
Fine, Raj.
Yes,
Okay.
no hands.
Right. One problem comes up sometimes is how am I going to send feedback in an assessment and assess so many people's work? So I think online platforms make it easy. So this is, you can use MCQs. Now MCQs, again, try and use higher order MCQs. If I was taking a lecture on inflammation, I can just ask a simple question of how does aspirin affect some part of inflammation, but I can make the question more interesting by adding a picture or a case scenario. Now, how you can make your MCQs self-sustainable is by something like this. This is a question. I've put a picture here and I've given options. Now, even if the student clicks a wrong answer, there is feedback inbuilt into this option. So it says why you are wrong. And then there is feedback also given here of why the correct answer is what. You can even put in your page number of what to read or what not to read. So it takes time to build these MCQs, but if you have a question bank like this, and every department can make it and make your own question banks, this is useful because now students are going into NEET, they want higher order questions. So this kind of thing helps them very much. Okay. So this is what you can do, and then you don't have to correct this also, because what happens here is that they get the answers and the score themselves. So coming to the third aspect of the cycle there, which is enhancing social presence in online sessions. Remember, students tend to feel very isolated when you have online sessions. So it is important that you make them feel a part of the learning community, and you have to consciously introduce opportunities for cooperation or collaboration. Now, if you look at this modified version of the same community of inquiry framework, we have talked about how content has to be organized, whether it is synchronous or asynchronous, and how you can send them to find things from the internet. There is how the teacher structures these learning resources, how you form the teacher-student interactions. We have discussed this. There can be places where you have independent study with the student and the content. But the last part, which is student-student interaction, is equally important for collaborative learning. And you need to build in student-student interaction, which is important because they're going to become going into professions where teamwork is important. And the easiest way to do that is to use discussion boards or bulletin boards. Now, the problem with discussion boards is you must know how to moderate them. You must know how to facilitate them. So here you have people who write a lot. And if they say you're going to get marks on this or the number of emails you send, people write absolute nonsense. So it's always important to have rubrics which will tell students that you are going to be judged on the quality of your post and not on the quantity of the post. You need to promote deep learning. Don't ask for regurgitation of facts. And it requires good facilitation skills, which is knowing when to intervene, knowing which kind of question to ask. And eventually, a good discussion board is where a faculty can sit by the side and the students are talking to each other. But in the beginning, of course, teachers have to give the initial push. I think Siraj and his group will discuss about assessment in the next session of how you can give incentives for participation. Or if your group is too big, like 200 students, it is possible to divide into different email threads or different discussion boards, where either you put a faculty or a resident in charge of each group, or if you have some bright students and some not so bright students, they can have peer mentoring where you can do. We wrote a paper long back where we talked about how group dynamics and social interaction makes a difference. This is based on the same framework which I used, and you can use your QR code reader to get straight away to your PDF of this document. I'm waiting. If you want to click and download this PDF, you can take it down and read the paper later. Let me know when you finish. Can I move ahead?
Yes, I think.
Right. So it's only creativity and how much creativity you can use which determines what you can do. I don't know about other places, but most learning softwares, they have something called as breakout rooms. So suppose I'm in a GoToWebinar here. What I can do is suddenly the moderator can decide breakout rooms and he can put people into different rooms. You can have discussions in your group, say for the next 15 minutes. And when you do that, and then you come back to the main group and we can have a presentation from each group. So that feature is available in most of the softwares. You can time 15 minutes, 20 minutes, how much more, give them tasks to do and let them get back. Jigsaw method, what you do is in the classroom where everybody studies a different thing. They all come in together and then they teach the class. So that is something you can make your students do. I have seen and I have participated in online PBLs where the case is given and students can go search and come back and prepare documents and share it with everybody. We had a lot of fun in Philadelphia. Sucheta, if she's here, will remember we did online role plays where we gave a scenario and everybody had to take on a role of either you can have a very negative person or a positive person or a skeptical person and answer in the role of that person. So you can make learning a lot of fun, and you can have projects which can uh, be conducted online. I have done projects as part of my Maastricht MHP, where we had one faculty in Thailand, one in South Africa, one in Israel, and then it is very difficult to get people together, but we still produce a document. So it's possible to collaborate online, and the only thing restricts you is your creativity. So having said all this, you will still worry whether the same people are asking the questions, is the rest of the class answering or not. So it's like the first row of your classroom, aage wale bacche, they are the people who garner all the limelight, while the backbenchers, you don't know what they're doing. So there is this phenomenon of lurking in online also, where people are probably listening to you, but they're not participating as much. So it's important that you reach out to them privately and find out what is the reason why they're not participating. Are they feeling overwhelmed? For some people, maybe the course is too boring and they don't want it, not challenging enough, and some people it's too tough. And there are other student issues like time management, because online learning requires you to be motivated, to be good at metacognition, to know how you can manage time yourself, and a lack of motivation. So you will have to deal with these things and respect students, because everybody has different ways of learning. So, and this is why it's important to use a mix of method. Maybe they don't like online videos, maybe they like to learn on their own, and maybe so give assignments of different types and give them other opportunities to participate where they are more comfortable. So I hope all of you have read this very classic paper by Chickering and Ganson. If you haven't, you can use the QR code to download this, and please do read this. So this is a paper written way back in 30 years ago, which talks about the 7 principles of good practice in undergraduate education. Now these principles still hold true, and today I'm going to use these same principles and tell them how you can use them online. So we've already talked about it. I'm just going to list those principles again. Can I move to the next slide? If you've taken a shot of this.
Yes.
Okay. So the 7 principles are: there has to be contact between students and faculty, and you must encourage this kind of contact, both in the classroom and outside the classroom, which means when you're online and when you're offline. There has to be cooperation between students. Students must feel the bond, must feel the cohesion, and that is very important that you do that. When you say there has to be cooperation between students, it means that there has to be effective communication. There has to be open communication. You usually find in bulletin boards that people tend to get sarcastic. That's how the generation is, and you have to stop it right there and say, be encouraging, don't cut down people, right? So that's important, and there has to be a bond or a cohesion between people. You have to encourage learning, active learning, and we've discussed that. Giving prompt feedback, I can't emphasize this enough. You have to be there for the students online. Emphasize time on task, communicate high expectation, and respect diverse talents and ways of learning. All this will end up in creating a favorable learning environment. So I'll like to end by showing you a way which we have adopted at Sevagram, and here the important thing is there is no online video involved. So we have a village adoption scheme where students stay in a village for 15 days, and this is an accompaniment. It's a form of blended learning where this module works when the students are in the village. So if you see this, there is a notice board that there's some information which tells you about the concept, and this gives you the basic guidelines of why we are doing it. There are templates for writing reflection. There are incentives like badges of students who do well, and there are families which are allotted to the students, which are given on these documents. Now, like in any other course, the learning goals and the outcomes are shared with students all the time. So why are we doing this here? And the tasks are given to them. All the resources are uploaded online, but remember, these are not, I'm looking at the faculty perspective, this is opened up part by part. So today, maybe one session, one thing will be opened up, and students are not overwhelmed with resources. They're told what to study for that particular day or that particular week. So they have access to resources. Now, this is something I'm very proud of that the Department of Community Medicine does. So what they do is they have data from every family, because students are allotted different families. And the students are expected to enter the data of each family here, which means their age, their weight, their blood pressure, what are the different ailments they have. They have whether the children have been immunized, what is their health status, also the environment, whether the house has windows, enough ventilation, sanitation, all of the data. And at the end of the camp, the beautiful part is the whole village is now available. The data is available on one Excel sheet. And this can be shared. This data is analyzed and shared with the villagers, shared with the students themselves. And they learn how, by collecting data, you have a plan now, and how they decide to work for the next of the 3.5 years of what needs to improve in the village. And each student takes up specific tasks, like what will they change in their families. So this is something they have been doing. Now, we have asked them, they all are given different projects, like look at the physical activity of the village, or addictions available in the village. So these things, the different tasks which are given to them. We also ask them to share the stories of what they have done. So if I just give you a glimpse of the stories, you can look at, this is just one shot, there are too many of them, of how different languages, he's a student from outside Maharashtra, so language was not a barrier. How he felt like he's got a new family, why the elderly feel lonely, and how the struggle where you are giving drugs for diabetes, and the guy insists that I can eat bashundi because I'm having this naturopathy drug. So it doesn't matter if I eat one more katori of kheer. So they are actually seeing the practical situation and writing about this. So these are reflections from the students. So these are more reflections, and what they felt about it. What I love about this is they have self-assessment, of course, but this is a dictionary created by the students. There are not a lot of students from outside the state, so they have created a clinical dictionary where they're talking about terms to use from Marathi to English and English to Marathi. This is entirely created by the students depending on their needs. So you can see that even without coming to Sevagram, you have been able to see that students are completely engaged in the context without, and it's not superficial learning at all. So this is where the students have taken out best practices and written about them. And of course, they can share pictures, and this makes the learning more vibrant. So I'd like to end by saying that a good teacher does not expect his students to take his knowledge. A good teacher nudges his students in the right direction so they can discover knowledge for themselves. The fact is that most of us do not like online learning, and the corona epidemic has pushed us towards it. So I would say it's a blessing in disguise. But the important thing is, once we all get out of our lockdowns and go back to work, I think they should continue in some form of blended learning, because we have been pushed towards online learning. Let's start going towards flipped classrooms and keep using online regularly. So thank you. I'd be open to take questions. I'd like to acknowledge the help from Chinmay, Siraj, and Sanjay for all the suggestions, the resource material, and the technical support. This is a feedback form, so you can use your QR codes reader and just give me, it's a 2-question only. You can give me feedback on this. I'll be happy to take any questions at the moment.
Thank you, Anshu. At the outset, I should thank you for the excellent session on a very pertinent issue in the context of online learning. you have actually broken this into 3 important domains: engaging with the content, engaging with teachers, I mean the faculty as such, and of course the student engagement, which is built into the whole program. Well, Chinmay, do we have questions ready, or do we have any hands up?
Yeah, 2 questions are there. One is people are concerned about fake attendance using the QR code, that if a student is not participating, can pass on using a WhatsApp, or by any means a student can mark attendance. And second question is,
I'll just deal with that question first, Chinmay, and then we can go ahead. So
Sure.
the QR code reader here, when you make the Google form, what you do is you click submit, allow submitting only one option. So the person can only click his attendance. And the another feature there is when you get the responses, you have a timestamp. So if it is the attendance is given within the first 3 minutes or 2 minutes, you consider it. Anything taken after that, you don't consider it. And you can be cleverer than this, that the students keep the attendance anywhere in the middle, anywhere in the beginning, keep changing all the time. So you don't have to have exactly at the end of the class or wherever. So this code can come anywhere in the middle. So they don't know when you're going to push it up.
Yes.
Right?
And yes. And I think one more thing we can add is last 10 seconds we can announce some code, that today's code is ABCDEFG, and so those students who are there can only listen that and can put it in the group. And second question is,
as part of the want.
Yes, the second question is, any written instructions or guideline warning to be given to the student?
Warnings about what? So
during this interactive class.
Yeah, so ground rules have to be set, and like you set them in conjunction with students, that you will take this seriously and what is allowed and what is not allowed. So this is by discussion with the students. You make this clear right in the first class. I don't think you need written instructions. Even talking to them will do.
And the last question is, which learning management system is used in MGM?
We are using Moodle.
Okay, over from my side.
Dr. Samar Ahmed, those who want to ask.
Very unexpected.
Hello.
Hi, Samar.
Hi, Anshu. How are you? Thank you
Good.
so much for this amazing session. Very much needed, very timely, and very concise. So thank you so much, Anshu. Thank you, Sanjay and Siraj. Thank you so much for the invitation. Anshu, I just want to ask you a question about the lurkers you spoke about in the online session. Do you really think having students who are just lurking around and listening in and maybe capturing a piece of information or two, is this really a bad thing that we need to keep checking in on? And the reason of my question is, if we are in a normal classroom setting, sometimes there are introverts who prefer to remain silent and to remain listening in, and they have their own modality of learning where they do not really need to be in the front line and engaged in order to be learning. So do you think this is in order to keep waking them up and drawing them in, could this be kind of an invasion of their privacy or putting them on the spot and making them build defenses against learning? And thank you so much in advance for the answer.
Okay. Samar, I agree with you that you will have lurkers, you will have introverts in class. Now, what you need to do is see that they are actually participating, maybe in your poll. So maybe in the assessments, you will have to, or the assignments, you will have to see whether they are participating. If they are not there anywhere, then you definitely need to get in contact with them. But if they are learning quietly, I don't think that is a problem.
Sanjay, next question.
Anisha Prasad.
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to ask you that you showed us a slide in which you had posted a question where students can answer that MCQ, as well as students will know if the answer is correct or not. So is there any application for doing it?
It's inbuilt in Moodle. I don't know. I think most of the other apps, I think there are other apps. There's something called Hot Potato, if I remember right. Hot Potato is another app where you can do this. And yes, I think that this option should be there in most of the apps.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Any more hands? Please raise your hands.
There are few questions.
Yeah, questions are there? Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, sir. A few questions has popped up. One question is, how do we protect our transmitted material like PPT from piracy, like downloading and onward transmission?
I usually don't share my PowerPoints, and if it's inside an institutional website, I think I don't know. I don't share my PowerPoints usually, but if you want to share it, then you have to be. I think you should be. I think they will forward it. You can't help that.
Second question is, when we are using
convert them into PDFs, but even then they can do it.
Yes.
Chinmay, in this context, actually, we are coming up with a session on ethics and also intellectual property rights with these learning materials.
Okay.
So we will be launching it soon. So probably in this session you might get more information. We're inviting an expert in this field.
Sure. Okay, sir.
On WhatsApp, there's a question: what if the student is attending on mobile phone and cannot scan QR code?
I think you can take a screenshot.
Yes.
Use it later.
Yeah. Yes. No more hand. I don't see any more hands.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment actually. This is in relation to social loafing. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this. Social loafing actually is the tendency to reduce the individual effort when working in groups compared to the individual effort expended when working alone. So social loafing as such has been identified as one of the big issues in online learning. And I think in the context of Indian medical education or health professions education, once we start rolling out these courses online, it's going to be a serious issue to attend, particularly when group tasks are involved. So I don't know, Anshu, what are your thoughts on this, or if anybody in the panel?
I think you need to have a rubric which tells people how they will be assessed for their group task. So what we used to do in Maastricht in this is every group member gives feedback on how the other members participated, right? And this is done in open in front of everybody else. So if somebody has not contributed to the group or somebody is disturbing the group, they get the feedback face to face, or they get a written feedback which tells them that your place in the group is, you're not required in the group because you're disturbing all of us. So that feedback coming from peers can be very humiliating. So this is one thing you do: get feedback from every member of the group. Second, the teacher themselves contribute to it, and you get marks based on both the whole group work and your individual tasks. So it's a combination of the entire group marks plus your individual contribution.
Thank you. Chinmay, any other questions?
If you give an assignment to your student, but some group of student has their own way to do it rather than doing authentically, how to avoid it?
Own way of doing it?
Means they may copy or...
Yeah, so plagiarism is something that you need to be very careful about. And I find that commonly, even in my lectures, I ask a question and I ask something, and students are just typing 2 words, and there's one guy who writes in a 4-line thing, and I know he's just cut paste from Google. So you get back to them by asking them what they mean, which they probably don't know because they just cut and paste something there. So you always know how answers are different from each other or copied from each other, and that thing needs to be brought to the front and set in the ground rules that we want things in your own language. Even when it came to writing reflections, we felt that some students felt it's more comfortable to write in Marathi or Hindi. You give them that permission for those things. But when it is a academic assignment, you will ask them to write in their own words, and you should, or if you feel there's a problem, ask them to write in their own handwriting and scan it and send it to you. So do it.
One more question is how we maintain the timeline as the student may not able to submit their assignment on the day of synchronous learning session.
So you have to be realistic about what is the task given to them. If it is something that they have to know immediately after the class, they have to submit it in the next half an hour. Okay. If it is something that requires them to learn, then you as a teacher will know how much time to give them. So you have to be realistic in whatever you give them.
Then there are three suggestions like thing. One is in present scenario or not, we are bombarding with the different webinars and lectures to the student.
Yes, I mean we are getting bombarded as well every day. So you have to understand. I'm saying you don't have to use only online sessions all the time. Let them study at their own pace. Give them that freedom as well.
In response to that copying of material, one response from Dr. Kailas is in Google Slide, one disable downloading, printing, or PDF downloading, forwarding. So that can be done using Google Slide. There is one response to the previous question. Then how to prevent lurking?
I don't think you can prevent lurking. It depends upon your personality. Just like we have different personalities for teachers, you have different personalities for students. So there will be your front row, front benchers on the online platform as well, and there will be the black benchers. So you'll have to take a class with different personalities and use different methods and respect everybody's different way of learning.
During an online class, we can keep a check on chatting during the test, but how to keep a check if the students are doing the rest on their own time? Test on their own time.
How to keep a check when? I didn't understand.
During an online class, we can keep a check on cheating during the test, but how to keep a check on cheating when they are doing on their own time?
So your questions have to be higher order, right? I mean, if you're doing a self-assessment, I will not ask a question which requires you to mug up something and give. I will ask a teda question. I'll ask a tougher question which requires them to think about mechanisms. And the art is in the type of questions you ask them. So when you are going into online, I think stop asking mugging up kind of questions or cramming kind of questions. Ask application type of questions.
I think we are discussing that tomorrow. The cheating aspects.
Okay.
Then how CBME can be achieved in this online teaching?
CBME, which aspect of it? I think every aspect of it can be done with both with online except the skills aspect. And even there, if you have like on a online procedure, an online video or an operation, you can break it into parts and show it to the students. But all of that can be done. But actual patient, of course, you can't handle. So whatever work you can do in the classroom, you can still do online.
One request is, can you share your experience on online PBL?
Yes, online PBL, we were divided into groups online. It was the first experience of doing it, and we were given the same questions, and we were asked to come up with our own learning objectives. So every learning, and at the end of the week, we were asked to submit a document with all the resources. So, and these documents were open to all the groups, and groups were asked to assess each other. So which group's work did you like the best? So it was a big challenge because I did it on an online platform and it was an international audience and everybody was completely different from each other. And we had 100 different groups going on in the online session. So in your classroom also, you can do it.
Then can you share your experience that a fine balance is required to prevent encroachment of private space and professional spaces by either student or faculty? Share your experience, ma'am.
It's true. It's very true. You will get students wanting to get on your Facebook. There will be students who will want you to respond into your WhatsApp and all that. So you decide what you're comfortable with. My rule for myself is if a student sends me a friend request, I decide I do not send any students any friend request. So whatever you're comfortable, there are other teachers who will say no, I'm not going to accept it. So you need to know what is private, what is professional, how much you're comfortable with.
So one question is regarding total LMS. I think we will have a separate session for Moodle LMS. And any online version for bedside teaching, interactive teaching is available.
Yesterday, I think there was a webinar on PG teaching and how they can do it. So you can please take a look at what Mohit Joshi and the rest of them had done at the CMCL thing. So it's not exactly, you can't replicate it, they can do it in parts. Because that feel and the palpation will not come. But otherwise, history taking you can, of course, do.
All right.
Basically, they show videos.
Chinmay, do we have any questions, Sanjay?
No.
Okay. Now, thank you, Anshu, for that excellent session and also addressing the queries. Chinmay actually wanted to demonstrate the peer deck, right?
Yes, sir.
So anybody who wants to continue with this can stay on. Some people have requested demo peer deck.
Yes. Sanjay, can you share with everybody the PDF file which I emailed to you? So if it's possible to share with all the participants, you can do that.
Just put the link on the chat. Yeah.
And I'll do it at the end. And Dr. Sangeeta Ramu wants to ask a question. Please, I'm unmuting her.
Meanwhile, Chinmay, please set up.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Anshu, once again.
Yeah.
Chinmay, let me know when you want me to make you the presenter.
Make me, sir. You can.
Make him. Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Sangeeta Ramu, please ask your question. I think she is unable to unmute herself.
Okay, then let's get to Chinmay's demo.
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a Google slide in which I have already set up a 5-slide is there. And if you see on the topmost, there is one option known as add-on. So here, when you click get add-on, you will have to install this one, Peer Deck for Google Slide add-on. I am just again repeating. In Google Slide, you have to go to add-on. Click on get add-on, and then you have to install Peer Deck for Google Slide add-on. So once you install and once you click this part, open Peer Deck add-on, you will have this pop-up. Can you see on the right side? And it is mentioned start lesson. Okay. So once you click on the start lesson, there are two options available. One is student based activity. This you can do when you want student to do activity on their own. But when we are real time, you have to click on instructor based activity. So I am clicking on instructor based activity. Now it will ask all the students to open a website known as joinpd.com. So those who are here can type joinpd.com on your screen, on your browser, joinpd.com. So this you can do not only right now on online teaching, but you can do it when you are routinely teaching in classroom also. So now all of you have to open joinpd.com and insert a code ICTBL. Can you see on the screen? So right now there is no student, so it is saying that waiting for the student. Yes, I have 4 students right now. 6, 7, 8, 9, yes. So again, it requires internet connection, very good internet connection in our classroom also, or wherever students are there. So once students are there, I can start my class. So I'm starting my class. So this is the first slide. So I'm and then I can go to the next slide. Now if I want to ask any questions, if you see below here, there is a option known as new prompt. I think you are able to see this new prompt. So it will take you to the options like before class, during class, or end of the class. So right now I am asking one question that drag your dot to how you are feeling. So you have to click on one of the dot out of 3. So I request all of you to do. You will find one dot which you can drag to any of three options. And once the time is up, I can ask for show response. So you can see on the screen, response are coming from here and there. So this is one type of question. So I have a 37 response out of 44. So this is one type of activity. Then if I want to have one more activity, then I can go ahead. And then I am asking you a question that who is our Prime Minister? A. Narendra Modi, B. Dr. Siraj, C. Dr. Sanjay Bedi, and D. Dr. Anshu. Give your response. Again, repeating the option: A. Narendra Modi, B. Dr. Siraj, C. Dr. Sanjay, D. Dr. Anshu. So here again, I have I can show the response. Oh, Siraj, you are Prime Minister. Few people think so.
Chinmay, don't create problem for me.
Okay, so here one more option is available that you can lock the screen. If somebody has not submitted their response, they will not able to submit now because I have locked the screen. Okay, so I can again hide the response. If you go to the third type, so there are multiple types. We will see now one only. That what do you think? Today's presentation was one of the excellent presentation. Agree or disagree? So we have a 43 response. People are moving from here and there. Yes. So like this, I can have a new prompt also that what about today's weather? You like or don't like? So there are multiple activity are available. This is just a few of them. So I think Siraj, all can explore multiple options available on this peer deck. This was a small example of it.
Thank you, Chinmay. Just see if the people have any questions on what you did right now. They can ask on the chat, raise their hands. It doesn't look good running off after demonstrating. We'll just wait if somebody has any questions.
One question is how to go about the skill development. But I think
Dr. Yogita Walke. Dr. Yogita Walke has asked, raise your hands. Yogita, can you unmute yourself? There's a red button on your side.
Yeah, while Yogita is trying to unmute, Please see this demonstration in the context of today's session, that is building interactivity and engagement during online learning. So many of these are commonly used by online presenters to keep their students engaged with the content, with the topic as such, and of course, sometimes with peers and sometimes with faculty. Yogita, are you there?
Dr. Ganti Manthi Shekhar is there.
Hello. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for an absolutely amazing session. I think I have learned a lot today. I just have one question on Google Slides about uploading content. Is it that if you just go to Google Slides, it gives you instructions and you keep doing it, or how do we do it? That's what I want to know.
Chinmay, will you answer that?
Actually, I didn't get the question, ma'am. Can you repeat?
I will repeat. She asked, in Google Slides, how do you upload the content?
Oh, directly you can just go to the Google slide and file and import the slides. You can get it from here.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Dr. Rajkumar Bhardwaj.
Yes.
Sonali Khakar. Yes.
Hello, good
yes,
morning.
Dr. Raj. Yes.
Yes.
Please speak.
So session is it is going well, and the presentation is very well. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yes.
So I have attended last two or three sessions. They are very well, and I want to check the online attendance of the students, and this slide is very helpful for me and for other teachers to take the attendance while going on session, online sessions.
Thank you, sir. Let's go to the next person.
So, Doctor, next is Rohini Bhadre.
I wanted to ask Dr. Anshu.
Yes, Rohini?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Anshu that you said that you have to make your presence feel. So is it that we have to have, when we have these, I take normally on Zoom and then Google Classrooms. So Zoom, should I keep my video on? Because normally I put off my video. That is what I wanted to say. Because that gives a better clarity, and if I put off the video.
I don't think you need to have your face here today. Also, I did not have a video on showing my webcam.
Yeah,
have
so
the
that's what is
webcam
there.
on. When
Only
I say
our
present,
voice
it
is
means the students must be able to interact with you, must know that you are present, and you must be available to answer for their questions.
Okay, that's it. What I wanted to say. Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Anil Kumar Jain. Dr.
Hello.
Shyam Sundar. Yes.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, yes.
Very good afternoon, sir. I am Dr. Anil Kumar Jain. Yeah, I have thanks for a very nice presentation. I have one query. I have opened this Google slide in my laptop. Now I am not able to go further. So can you repeat in few steps again from where he started?
Sir, your question is not clear. What is it that you want to do?
Yeah,
you have kept your presentation open, and what is it that you want to do?
Yeah, I just want to, I am not able to import slide, and secondly, he started with presentation. So where to reach there? How to reach there?
Chinmay, are you online?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Actually, when you are going in Google slide, you have to click on file and you have to import slide. Import slide, and then you can import your PowerPoint. Okay, sir. And for
So
add-on,
in import,
you just write
hello.
and yes, sir.
After clicking on the import, I am getting a window, but I am not getting anything to browse in. So should I keep my that PowerPoint opened first, and then we can import the slides?
Yes, sir.
Is
Yes,
it?
sir. Yeah. Okay.
First, we have to open our PowerPoint, then we have to import.
Sir, there are two options available there. So you can directly import or you can browse from your computer. You just write once this presentation is over, and if it is getting any problem, we can discuss in the next presentation at the end.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Dr.
Sure.
Rupa wants to ask a question. I can see her. Is she there?
Doctor who?
Rupa Ballard.
Madam, one question is from Dr. Barnik. For 125 students, in which platform we can do interactivity more? Zoom, Google Hangout, Microsoft Meet, webinar, or any other?
Raj, yes. Chinmay, answer.
Hello. No, that's fine. I think the platform is not an issue here. It's how you build in interactivity. I've seen people using very high-tech platforms and completely losing on interactivity. I've seen people using very simple, embedded PowerPoint presentation and making it highly interactive. So the question is not about the platform. The question is what Anshu discussed today. How do you really get on this platform and make people interact and engaging? So don't worry much about the technology part of it. It's how you design it, actually. Everything will depend on your design.
Our President Arun Jampar sir want to ask some question.
Okay, just a yes, sir.
I'm just trying to go through the Google slide, and I'm not getting that peer deck.
Sir, you have to go to add-on and then you have to insert it.
In my Google slide, there is no add-on.
So you have to.
Okay, sir.
So
Sir,
I imported one slide deck. Background, layout, theme, transition. There is no add-on at all. I don't know why.
Sir, we'll call you and I think we will sort it out, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we could do it as a late thing also, Chinmay, if people
make it interactive, I think people understand.
Yeah. So, sir, shall we wrap up? I think it's somebody wanted. Dr. Rupa wanted. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Rupa Ballard.
Yeah, I had two questions. One question for Dr. Anshu and one for Dr. Chinmay. Dr. Anshu, excellent presentation. As usual, you made the things very simple. What I wanted to know was more about this QR coding. Where else we can use it more appropriately, and how do we bring in specific QR code for a specific task?
The QR code depends upon the URL. So what I usually do is, if I have in my Google Drive a document, and to share the document, you have a URL there. So that URL can be shared. And if you want to share resources, that's a good way of doing it, like I demonstrated today. If you want to capture information in the form of a feedback form or an assessment, that can also be possible, where the entire assessment is put on a Google form as an MCQ question. And then you can use that URL on a QR code and paste that and show it in your classroom, and everybody gets the assessment on their phones. So, and all the answers come to you as in the form of an Excel sheet. So you know exactly who's right and who's wrong and who needs help.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And Dr. Chinmay?
One second, ma'am. Actually, I asked Sanjay to share this. Use of QR code in education. I just posted it, so you will get that. There are different ways of getting it's an elaborate description. Sanjay, please post it here, okay?
Okay. Can you send it to me?
It has been sent to your WhatsApp. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead with your next question, Mike.
I think Chinmay is demonstrating it.
If you on your side there is a handout button to all of you. From there you can also take a handout now. It's an engaging online students with synchronous learning provided by Dr. Anshu. On your all of you have a panel on your left side. In that there is a handout button.
The right side, no? On the right side, right?
Yes.
Anshu madam, one more question is.
Dr. Chinmay has opened it.
Chinmay, there was one more question for you, please.
Okay.
Dr. Rupa had a question. Yeah.
Yeah, Chinmay, just wanted to ask, in Google Slides, can we import the videos also?
Miss, you can import the link of video, not whole video.
If I want to show the videos, like
you can just put a link of YouTube or your link of your video which is already there in your computer, and then you have to click that link during your presentation.
And the questions using the peer deck, we need to use the same formats, or can we put in some other formats to the deck?
No, they have their own fixed format.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Anshu and Dr. Chinmay.
Ma'am, there is one question for madam.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. May I have one question, please?
Yes. Chinmay, you complete one first.
Yeah. Ma'am, can we prepare a QR code for a document? There is one question.
Yes, you can upload it onto your Google Drive, and like you share your Google Drive and your particular document or a folder, that URL, whatever comes in that sharing, after you click the share button, that can be converted into a QR code and you can send it.
Okay. And how to engage students continuously for 5 to 7 hours?
7 hours, everybody will sleep. Don't even dare to do it.
Yeah, that's right. And I think we should also wind up because many of people in this forum have to run for the next webinar, either as participants or as faculty.
You're wallowing in webinars.
Is actually, and of course, classes also.
Dr. Siraj has given one link. I am just sharing it in a moment in the chat box. You can all see it just now.
Sir, please make Anshu ma'am as a presenter so her last slides can be seen.
Okay. Anshu, I'm making you the presenter once again.
Okay.
Anshu's last slide button.
I hope all of you have given feedback to me, and this will help AHPE in designing its next webinar.
Yeah, that's true. We wanted actually for things. So we will wind up. I think after tomorrow we have the.
Hello.
Yes,
hello.
Sir. Go ahead.
I have a last question from Anshu ma'am and team. Hello. So, how long Anshu ma'am and team is using online platform for teaching, and what inspired to use it?
Actually, 4 years ago, in our MEU, we had sessions. We introduced the entire faculty to Moodle. So every month we had 4 sessions every Saturday. We used to sit and we trained almost 100 teachers along, I think 2 or 3 months, so how to use Moodle. But the problem remains that people start using it, and then what happens is that they rust. So what happened was that they started with demo projects, But now, because this suddenly has come up, people have started revising the whole thing. But at the moment, if you want to use Moodle, as far as I know, Moodle is running a module called Learn. Go to learn.moodle.org, and you can learn from Moodle, and you can have a certificate from Moodle. It's on at the moment. So there is an opportunity for anybody who wants to learn Moodle to go to the Moodle site, learn.moodle.org, and adapt to Moodle. It requires practice. Each day you learn one little thing, just like a mobile phone. The more you explore, the more you learn.
Yeah, thanks a lot. That's what inspired me to ask the question, because it seems very interesting, and it shows that you are using it since long time. Because now, because of lockdown,
but people tend to get a little bored of
thanks
it
a lot.
unless you have a stick behind them to work. They don't do it. So now the danda has come from the administration, so they've
Anshu,
yeah. So that's the reason now we are looking for the things. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
So the presentations of these webinars, and of course the edited videos, we are trying to make it available. So we will do that so that you all can benefit from this. And I think that's all we have from you today, this morning. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Dr. Jamkar. Thank you, Dr. Sanjay. Thank you, Dr. Chinmay. And of course, thanks a lot, Anshu, for doing that great session. Yeah, and we'll see you day after tomorrow morning with the session that we're winding up in this series. Till then, stay safe. Take care. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Can I stop sharing my screen, Sanjay? Or you go off?
Yes, I'm ending it, but just in a moment.
And Sanjay, after a while I'll call you.
Yes.